Greetings. Today's talk focuses on sort of three themes today. The first is Daimler, VW, and Honda preparing to go out of business, a la Sony versus Apple back in the day? The second thing is we do a little cleanup from our conversation previously regarding Elon Musk and the criminal probe by the FBI. The third thing that we cover today is focused on sort of really digging into some of the challenges that new owners, particularly of the Model 3, that are having as they take delivery. I call it the guerrilla delivery process. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. And for those of you who are supporters on Patreon, we wanted to thank you for your support, and we could use more of it if you can possibly spare to support us in this way. So this week, some news popped up, which is that the CEO of Daimler Benz has expressed interest at some point in working with Tesla once again. There's an open question as to sort of what's going on with Daimler. And the reason I ask this is that an illustration of the point is that if you look at the Tesla Semi, the process for the design of the Semi was that, just like with the other vehicles that you see coming from Tesla, there was a design competition that went on, which meant that 3 different firms around the world that are good at design were asked to design the vehicle. And the best of the designs that came back is what you see as a moving vehicle. And so in the case of the semi-truck, it's my belief that how things were handled was very similar. So I'm bringing this up today because there's this sort of weird thing that's been playing, and that is that it's been a year now since Tesla introduced its semi-truck. In fact, I would say it's a little over a year because there were initial images that were out even before the truck was announced. So the open question is, why has Daimler-Benz in particular not responded to these photos that show what the future of trucking might be? In particular, if you'll recall, one of the reasons why the truck has a driver in the middle is that it allows you to recreate the front profile of the truck, and the wind resistance is reduced by 20%, and the consumption of fuel is reduced by 10%. So even though these don't sound like huge numbers, basically you need 9 trucks from Tesla to equal the cost of 10 trucks from Daimler. So I'm fascinated because I was starting to think, I mean, Daimler is having some problems and deal with Tesla. In particular, the unions are a key part of what they do. And there's an attempt by the unions to slow down both at GM and at Daimler the move to electric, because there are a lot of their union members that lose jobs at various points in the supply chain, including in finished cars. So we're in a situation where Daimler is being held up by, very powerful organizations within, like the unions. But I don't think the unions have anything to do with the overall design of their vehicles and whether or not they're doing a good job of aerodynamics to anticipate how important that is in the process. So on a 300-mile truck, 30 miles of that range is just from the body design of that truck. And I'm just stunned to not see an effective Daimler response from that going on. So bottom line is, and by the way, I can see all of you saying hello, thanks for doing so. All of the folks on the end user have asked that we not respond immediately, so I'll catch up with you guys at the end. So bottom line on this show is that this is what's going on with Daimler? Now, part of the response to what's going on with Daimler that I think is fascinating is that Tesla is climbing the learning curve to figure out how to deal with scale lithium-ion batteries. So as you know, there's the Gigafactory producing batteries. Right now, Tesla has been able to finally get 35 gigawatt hours, which I think is the equivalent of 10,000 cars a week completed. So the next question is, how come we're not seeing those cars yet? The answer is that right now they have to build 3 more automated lines to allow the batteries that are being produced to actually get into battery packs fast enough for them to get then into the cars. So by hand doesn't give you the efficiency you need, and therefore, it's just an interesting situation where you have this interesting problem of the fact that Tesla's climbing the learning curve of scale level batteries of lithium ion in order to get them into cars. And there are a lot of other manufacturers that have to both figure out this process, get somebody to build it and install it so they can do this. And so I'm intrigued because Daimler has an effort going at multiple locations around the world to start producing batteries, but they're still trying to work with older technology on those batteries in order to get their solution done. So this is going to be very interesting to see, one, how they get a good quality battery to compete with Tesla done, and two, how are they going to get those batteries done at scale? And then 3, when we look at some of the challenges being had by Tesla, how are those other manufacturers going to handle similar challenges when they still don't have the technology part figured out yet? So I don't have an answer to these questions, but I believe each of these questions relative to the production of batteries, getting them into battery packs, making sure you're optimized in terms of your aerodynamics, is another issue. And then another issue that comes to mind, I think is pretty interesting, is what about the batteries? Daimler has argued that the current use of their batteries in trucks has resulted in a situation where the trucks, the batteries are completely wiped out after 3 years and there's nothing to sell. So one of the news items that came across was that on the e-tron from VW, they're having a question mark now, which is, who's going to handle the issues with warranty on those batteries when there's really no history of those vehicles being on the road? And in essence, if you warranty them for 3 to 5 years, and like the Nissan Leaf batteries, they're kind of dead after 3 years, who pays for those replacement batteries? And so this ends up being a nightmare if in fact Tesla is getting 10-year lives out of their batteries. So stay tuned. I don't have any answers for these questions, and from what I can see, Daimler, VW, and Honda don't, but it sort of reflects on why there's a delay in what's going on right now. So we'll see how this plays out. The next thing I wanted to cover is the fact that we just did a show related to Elon Musk and whether or not, there's some criminality that might show up based on the FBI investigation. Please note, number one, Elon said he'd be at 5,000 a week in production by the end of 2017, and that didn't happen. There are internal documents that could tell him what the actual numbers were, which ended up being hand-built, couple of hundred vehicles a week in reality, and there's a gap between the two. So I just wanted to note that it's a documented gap between what he said and what was going on, and this is what's being investigated on a criminal basis right now. So I don't have a dog in that fight. There have been a number of people who've written stuff back to me, and there was a little bit of anger, et cetera, but the reality is that I was just pointing out the obvious facts of what was going on. And, I don't wish anything evil on Elon or on Tesla. I was just highlighting the fact that those issues are in discussion, and how are they going to be handled by the government is a material issue to how the company is going to do going forward. So, I think that in general, those topics are pretty important to cover. The next thing I wanted to cover today is what I call guerrilla Model 3 ordering. So 2 days ago, I ran into a brand new, his second day of ownership, Model 3 owner. And I looked at his car and I said, wow, beautiful white car. It's a performance version. He was really happy with the fact that he also got lifetime supercharger to go with the performance version. I didn't know that was being offered on the Model 3, but obviously now I do. He wasn't at all bummed out that the price has fallen on the car. He explained to me, as a final quick note, asked him, what was your delivery experience like? And he said, all of a sudden his face got bright red, and he said, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I was like, any highlights you'd like to share? And he indicated that the nightmare that I experienced was the fact that I got my car, what's now the end of October of 2019. I was supposed to get my car at the end of August, but it was delayed by 2 months, and I had already gotten rid of my other car. And so I asked him what happened, and he explained that, well, my car came in 2 days early to the service facility. So instead of calling me to say it was here 2 days early, they sold it to somebody else. So now I was stuck without a car, and they couldn't immediately put me into another car, so I was delayed by 2 months basically in getting my vehicle. So I was kind of shocked by this. I was like, wow, I would say that would make me irate. So I bring this up to all of you that are ordering your vehicles right now, etc. You might want to become friendly with your service facilities and be a little bit pesky about it, because it's possible that you could end up with your vehicle arriving maybe early and end up in somebody else's garage if you're not careful, because it kind of feels as though the back end of distribution is a little bit disorganized right now for the company, and might be something to think about in terms of both your order and delivery process. And so I think it's worthwhile to sort of consider this, because until we get out of the delivery hell portion, it really looks like things are a little bit haphazard, etc. So, Jonathan, thanks for the comment there regarding the leg list. Remember, 20 per leg, but you're supposed to put a 5-pound weight on each leg prior to doing that, and that's once a day. So great job. I'm glad you actually watched our show in that regard. Roger, I've seen you guys saying hello from all over the world. Thank you for doing so. Happy to field any questions that you might have based on show topic chosen today. I do think it's interesting that Daimler is really looking to reignite the relationship that was crushed by what was going on with Tesla. So the final thing that we're going to be moving into a little bit is that I'm wanting to do a show exclusively focused on what's going on with the stock of Tesla. So if you're a stockholder as well as a car owner, Tesla, I believe, is about to jump into a huge growth phase. And I've been encouraging people to buy the stock, but I really want to do a show about options. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on maybe a show, half to 3/4 of a show focused on what's going on with Tesla's stock price and its options relative to those, because I think you could, great. I'm glad to hear it, Roger. So I just wanted to mention that, I think that it's an interesting situation, because I think a lot of you could make a lot of money off of it in this fashion. So I think that'd be kind of interesting. Excellent question about the Model Y. I believe that there's a nightmare coming for Tesla right now that screws up the Model Y delivery. And what the nightmare is that in the United States, according to a bunch of different sources, by Christmas, there's a high likelihood that Tesla will become the #1 selling vehicle in the United States. Why this is significant is that as Tesla gets distracted producing Model 3s in huge quantities for Europe and Asia, and then you got the truck following on, the Model Y gets lost in the shuffle until the next sort of phase of the Gigafactory can be built, because all those cars are rolling out at the 500 to 700,000 units per year clip. Just doesn't provide the battery capacity to do it. So I think the Model Y is a great vehicle, but I'd be stunned if it shows up before 2021, because it looks like the customer response to the Model 3 is is huge. So yes, there's a lack of batteries to go with that. So, but you know, there's talk of it being produced in China along with the Model 3. I think that kind of makes sense. But I'm wondering, you know, nobody knows the exact number of how many cars are going to be bought around the world of the Model 3. But it looks like a rout right now with a lot of customers enjoying their vehicles, word of mouth being excellent, and there's a huge pent-up demand for that price point of Tesla vehicles. I wanted to note we're kind of at the point in the show where we typically start to wind down. Again, I want to thank all of you from around the world for saying hello. Please remember to like and subscribe. We're on Patreon and could use support there if possible. Again, yeah, there are more battery lines coming, but there's a difference between more battery lines to automate the packs versus more batteries being produced in general. So the issue is that, you know, that's not happening. Jonathan, excellent comment about batteries being produced in China. They will be shipped to China, but I highly doubt Tesla will start building batteries in China for another 2 or 3 years, even though I think the factory will be done in a year. So just a reminder, remember, no going to bed until 2 hours after you've eaten, preferably 4 hours, because it'll be fully digested and you're not going to get heartburn and potentially cancer. Remember, 20 leg lifts per leg, preferably with a 5-pound weight each. I've noticed the difference as I've been doing this every day in terms of stability of the knee and the strength of legs. Awesome way to go. Also a reminder, omega-3 wouldn't be a bad deal, and a half-hour walk to go with it on a daily basis as well. Low in issues. Yeah, that shortage of batteries is going to slow down the truck, absolutely. Any rate, again, I wanted to thank all of you for joining in person. Look forward to, if you could post your comments, dislikes, etc. at the end. Excellent, Hector, great question on YouTube Red. It's actually kind of low. We have very, you know, our Red size of audience is actually kind of low, but excellent question. I want to say $5 a month, you know, not a huge situation. Yeah, you're right, Roger. The semis do eat large amounts of batteries, 4 times the number at least. It might actually be, you know, more batteries with larger packs, but at least 3 or 4 times is what you're looking at for a truck. Yeah, you know, right now there's a shortage of housing in the Reno area because of Tesla, and so yes, they're looking at making a factory town of the Gigafactory area because the housing situation has gotten tenuous, and so, or it's become a problem. Hey, thank you very much, Hector, for the comment and the support. Hey, Patreon is available. If you know, we could definitely use help there, and our link is listed below. Any rate, again, want to thank all of you for joining us. Please leave us a note. Your questions, comments, etc. affect what we cover in our show, and we really look forward to those going forward. In German, we say Tschüss, mach's gut. In French, we say au revoir. In Hebrew, lahit root. Choda Hafez is Farsi. Farvel is Dutch. And in Jamaica, we say, and same to you, Donovan, enough respect, walk good, and have a great day, and look forward to whatever comments you guys might have. Thank you very much.